I will start with the most important thing for today. I was right. I was entirely, completely right. I have done multiple videos, even monologues, making the point that Democrats are praying, chomping at the bit, praying for Republicans to overreach on the issue of Roe v. Wade. And I said that because, look, there are few rules, right? And I've jumped ahead, getting across how my correctness. This, just so we're clear what I'm talking about. Supreme Court has voted to overturn abortion rights draft opinion shows. Now, this title is slightly overstating. Yes, it's a draft opinion. No, a draft opinion is not necessarily the real opinion. Meaning, a draft opinion could change up until the point at which it's released. This happened with Obamacare, for example. Obamacare, not many people know this, had been basically killed for a while. You basically had Justice Scalia going after John Roberts. John Roberts, leading the court, cares about the image of the court, and he didn't necessarily want the court, conservative court, to kill the first black president's main and key legislative achievement. For God's sake, it had his name, Obamacare. And then he was bothered by that. And so he turned around and said, it's a tax. It's a tax. It's a tax. It's a tax. The government can tax. It's a tax. In which case, reports are that Scalia was after him, trying to get him to basically go back to the original opinion. So my point is, this could change between the time it's released. There's that. Will it change? Who knows? Right now, however, the draft opinion that's out, that everybody has basically validated as being completely and entirely true. Apparently, they're going to have some kind of investigation to figure out who leaked it. But more importantly to the point, it seems it is legitimate. It is true. Whether it changes later, who knows? But it is a draft document that is indicating that they are nixing Roe v. Wade. Now, I pointed this out the moment that Gersh and Coney Barrett got on the Supreme Court. It's like, that's the end of Roe v. Wade. I didn't care what they said. There are certain rules that you should go by where you're analyzing political events and you're trying to figure out what is going to be the outcome of a particular event. The first one is basically ignore what people are telling you and look for where do the incentives go. It doesn't mean as a flat fact that that is going to be the thing that happens. All things being equal, though, people tend to be governed by their emotions in regards to where they go, and they would come up with a logical explanation to explain that particular emotion. And they would come up with reasons and justifications to get to where they actually want to get to in the first place. If always trust ideological actors to be ideological actors, period. Again, doesn't mean that they can't surprise you every so often. Doesn't mean that they can't have this kind of principle belief or principle stance that goes beyond their own individual ideological wants. Those things are possible, but all things being equal, always trust the ideological actor to be the ideological actor. Doesn't matter what they say. If they need to get from point A to point B, and the only thing that's standing in their way is a lie, that lie will likely be uttered. Trust ideological actors to be ideological. Second point, kind of pursuant to the first. Expect people to lie in situations when there's something that they want and there's an ideological position that they need to get to. Meaning there is something in this world that I, as an ideological actor, want to accomplish. And the only thing that's standing between where they are now and accomplishing that particular ideological objective is a lie, a fib. That fib will be uttered. That fib will be uttered. Now, again, is it possible that they will tell the truth in that situation? Maybe. Should I believe it? No. Especially when I am trying to figure out what is more likely to be the outcome of a certain series of events. This kind of goes like the Worf thing. When Worf, Q is trying to get the Enterprise crew to believe that he is a human at that point. He's like, I am flesh and blood. How can I prove it? And Worf says, die. If you die, I'll believe it. That's kind of the way you have to deal with this. Is it possible that Gersh or that Coney Barrett will give an honest answer when all of them want to get rid of Roe v. Wade and you ask them about Roe v. Wade? What are they going to say in that moment, especially when there is zero consequence for going from point A to point B? And the moment that you get rid of Roe v. Wade, you will still be on that bench for the next 40, 50 years, depending on how long you live, up until the point in which you drop dead. Get dropped dead on the bench in the middle of a case, and they would roll you out, put somebody else in. But that's what it's a life thing. So why on earth would I believe anything coming out of Coney Barrett's mouth, or for that matter, Neil Gorsuch's mouth, when they are trying to get to be on the Supreme Court? Why? Ideological actors did not believe in Roe v. Wade. Believe that God himself, herself, itself, whatever designation you want to give, meaning the creator of the universe itself, is against Roe v. Wade. So from the standpoint of asking these people a question in their heads, I'm doing God's work. I'm doing God's work. I don't care about the consequences. I don't care that clothes hangers are going to be going out of stores like hotcakes. I don't care about that. I don't care about that. I have an ideological position. I'm on the bench. They put me on this bench to do exactly what I am doing right now, and that is getting rid of Roe v. Wade. I didn't believe it was going to be anything other than that. And that is exactly what happened, which is why I was doing monologues saying Democrats are praying for this, praying for this particular eventuality. Don't believe these people out here as they wag their hands and, oh my God, the world is coming to an end. Trust me, on the inside, more so Democratic leadership, they are like, yes, yes, yes. Republican overreach. We have a chance. The only thing you guys needed to do was shut the fuck up and sit down up until midterms. That's it. Shut the fuck up, sit down, create no waves in the position. Let it go the way it goes. Biden was drowning all on its own. The other Democrats were drowning all on their own. There was no reason to destabilize a particular position. But again, first rule, ideological actors are ideological actors. It's not about what is in the best case scenario for this particular moment from my own particular party inside. It's, we can get rid of Roe v. Wade, we're going to get rid of Roe v. Wade. The reality of it is, if they could have waited just until next year, just 1 year, they would have had the House, they would have had the Senate, they would have had Roe v. Wade in pocket because they would have did the exact same thing. And going around to the next election, they had another 2 years for the election itself. I guess the point I'm making here is, doing this now, just before the midterms, is one of the potentially dumbest things that a person or group or party could do. And I would imagine in the same way that Democrats are basically celebrating right now, Republicans are like, God damn it, what are you doing? What are you doing? Now, what I'm saying here flies in the face of what it looks like on its surface. If you're just looking at the various people as they wag their fists on various TV cameras and as they do their greatest political theater act that they can basically muster in that particular moment. They're going to do that. They're going to do that. You're going to see those various people, and they're going to be wagging their fists and shaking their hands and everything else. But what Democrats know is what I know. They had zero chance in the midterms. And this destabilizes the position. I was in a chess game once, the World Open. And I am losing this game. I am losing this game badly. It's not badly, but it's losing it definitely. And what I know is if the position continues the way the position goes, I am going to lose in a slow death. It may take 75 moves, but it is going to be a grudgingly slow death loss. I said, fuck it, and I sacked the knight. Now, I sacked the knight because if you take that knight, all sorts of complications take place in the position that I cannot predict and that my opponent also cannot necessarily predict. Yes, he's holding a knight. He has this in hand. It's sitting on his side. I no longer have access to that piece. All of that is true. By the same token, a position that was entirely won now gets complicated. My point is, the Supreme Court doing this is basically sacking a knight. It's complicating a position that was entirely and completely uncomplicated and didn't need to be complicated, which is the reason why Democrats, they still may lose, but at the very least, they have something that they can cling on to, whereas before, they had nothing. They had squat. They didn't accomplish squat. Joe Biden failed miserably, whether it was issues of foreign policy or whether it's issues of domestic policy. And the war that he's engaged in right now as a proxy with Russia, I mean, at some point It's not going to be a proxy, but whatever. It's creating all sorts of economic havoc all across the world, including in the United States. They were going to be toast. They're going to be toast. Democrats. Cue Democrats. David Corn. Right here. Just checking in with all the folks who thought it wasn't that important to vote for Hillary. How are you doing tonight? Here's another one. I love this. This is Manu Raju. I mean, CNN, but Democrats, right? Same difference. Susan Collins, if this leaked draft opinion is the final decision and the reporting is accurate, it would be completely inconsistent with what Justice Gersh and Justice Kavanaugh said in the hearings at our meetings in the office. Again, expect political actors to be political actors. It doesn't matter what he told you. He could have told you he had a 20-inch penis. Doesn't matter one iota. You can't do anything about it. The moment that he gets on the bench, he's on the bench. He's going to be there for the rest of his life. Here's the thing. Whatever these Democrats are going to say, claim, bitch about, and everything else, the truth of the matter is pretty straightforward. Obama had a 60-vote majority when he took office. Go back and look. He had 60 votes. If they really wanted to do something about the Supreme Court, he could have did something then. He did not do it. On top of that, Obama didn't even fight for his own Supreme Court seat. Merrick Garland, the milquetoast guy that he basically chose for that position, sat there and got completely and entirely cucked by Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump, who came in and took the seat. Obama thought, well, Hillary Clinton is clearly going to win this. Oh, Hillary Clinton didn't win this. Nor did he go to the mat in order to fight for that particular seat, which was his, which was entirely and completely his. So wait, Obama didn't have the testicles to fight for his own seat, but we're supposed to go out and vote for the testicleless party? Are you insane? Why would people do that? Now, the catch here is, and the most important point is, why didn't they do anything about abortion rights? What, this took place in what, 73? And what, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years? They didn't do anything about abortion rights till 50 years? They didn't have access to the House and the Senate at any particular point where they could have gotten something done on this? Even from the standpoint of getting to the point where we have politics now, where everything takes 60 votes, that wasn't that way all the way throughout history up until this point. So why on earth leave Roe v. Wade persistently and intentionally vulnerable, which is exactly what they did. And they do this for a few issues, including issues of immigration for Hispanics. The entire point of this was to create a situation where you could use the Supreme Court as a club. It's basically an overarching threat, a sword of Damocles, that you can basically go to the public that has no other reason to vote for you in the least because you've done nothing to them and you don't support their interests, and to say, look, I know you don't like us. I know we suck at our jobs, but Supreme Court, do you want them to take away your abortion rights? Do you? Then vote for Democrats. It's that. That is the only reason that is left persistently dangling in that way. How long have conservatives held the Supreme Court? How long? And the only thing that was basically stopping them from nixing it was John Roberts. And the point that I'm making here is, at any particular point, they could have done something about this. They chose not to. They left it dangling like this under case law, not even real law, that could be changed on a whim the moment that you get a particular court in to do it. The only thing that kept it away was John Roberts not necessarily wanting to go back over federal law, right? That's just it. It's not really a law. It's a court case. And in the context of the court case, another court case can come that removes and eliminates the previous court case. The way you avoid that is by passing an actual law, which is the job of Congress. And for that matter, the job of the party that cares about that, which is supposedly the Democratic Party. They chose not to do it because it was more advantageous to use the court as a weapon, as basically a club, to turn women who cared about abortion, or for that matter, the public who cared about abortion, into black voters who are always under a persistent threat of keeping the enemy from out of office. In this very specific case, what I mean by that is African-American voters Many people with other racial demographics may not know this, but when blacks vote, it's usually to keep the monsters at bay. We got to keep the monsters at bay. In this very specific case, tends to be Republicans. We got to keep Republicans out of office. Oftentimes, we used to vote, we didn't even know who the various people was. You see a D, you vote for the D. Keep the monsters at bay. Well, of course, when you vote this way, it makes them, lazy. It makes them opportunistic. It gets them into the headspace that you basically owe them your vote, whether or not they do anything for you. It is a horrific way to go about voting. There are times where people need to lose, even if that means you lose something in the process in order to get it across that you're not willing to settle for anything. In this very specific situation, Democrats have become fat and lazy. And this is a massive failure on their part, because whatever reasoning they didn't want to use in order to kind of keep Roe v. Wade hanging, in order to use it as a weapon and everything else, it is very true, though, that this is supposed to be their pet issue. There's another reason. Obama didn't want this to be on his legacy. It's that part. Because Democrats get dicey about abortion, even though they're the ones who basically are the ones who are supposed to be defending the whole abortion issue. In this, right now, the way it goes, though, we are going to see whether or not they can dredge up enough existential rage over this issue heading into the midterms to see whether or not it has an effect. I don't know. Whether it does or not, I have no idea. What I know, or what at the very least I think, is that I wouldn't have created a situation that would have given them the opportunity to have something to destabilize the position in the first place. But whatever. Again, ideological actors are going to do ideological things. And it's a very specific situation. These guys saw the opportunity to put a win on the board, and they went for it. We don't care about the consequences. We don't care about the political consequences, or for that matter, the real world consequences of people not able to get an abortion in various states in the country. We are going backwards. We're going backwards. However you want to look at it, though, be very clear. This is their failure. They should be radically ashamed of this. They could not defend Roe v. Wade from a rabid group of Republicans that have gotten more and more rabid over the years as the Democratic Party has basically failed to do and be anything of real significant worth, short of basically a bunch of lobby firms or weapons manufacturers and all of that stuff. This was their job. It was their job to defend Roe v. Wade. And instead of defending Roe v. Wade and fixing Roe v. Wade and fixing abortion law to ensure that that stuff is enshrined into law, they didn't do that. They decided to play politics with that particular issue. And so now it's very possible that that particular issue is going to go into a win column for Republicans. And whether or not Democrats are going to be able to do anything about it, we will find out sooner rather than later, I suppose, at the midterms. But that is secondary to the point that this is a massive, massive, massive failure. And it needs to be accepted as such. And this notion of, hey, you people should have voted for Hillary Clinton is the exact reason why you shouldn't have voted for Hillary Clinton. If they have nothing else to show or nothing else to offer other than being a vessel for the Supreme Court, then no, they shouldn't get your vote. You vote for people because those people are representing your interests. It is not enough. It is not enough. Somebody giving you a penny and saying, give me your vote, that's not enough. I understand how bad this is. By the same token, Democrats should have defended it if they cared about it. This is not Republicans' fault. And on a deeper level, should the Supreme Court be the one and the edifice and device to have a case law to be acting as a law? Meaning, is this really the body that should be doing this in the first place? Or is this something that they should have put and codified into law a long time ago? Yes, I am clearly for abortion. 1,000% yes. Hate the fact that they're getting rid of it. By the same token, I am perfectly aware that the Obama administration, at the very least the last one, had the ability to do something about it. They chose not to. He had the ability to fight for his Supreme Court pick. He chose not to. This is the world that these guys created. They have been so batshit backwards in regards to getting anything real accomplished for their constituents that people just haven't voted for them, would not have voted for them going up in the midterms. But now, I suppose it's up for grabs, right? We'll see what happens. I would say this, if nothing happened at all, they were going to lose miserably. Now, is this enough to keep the House? Is it enough to keep the Senate? Is it enough? I suppose we're going to find out. Like, share, and subscribe. Thanks all.